a little bit. I want you to have. Yeah, there you go. How you doing otherwise? How's your summer going? And then we have.
Well, don't we need to, are we ready? 69.
How are you doing?
Thank you. You're welcome. This is what I thought I printed.
Yep, oh, that's fine. That makes sense, is that?
So why pull them off if they're working fine?
Ready?
Okay, I will call the meeting to order. It's agenda date, time, and location were properly announced. Thank you for coming tonight. We will start off with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 19th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve? Katie, is there a second?
Second.
Who, is it Chris?
Amy.
Amy. Oh, okay. Any corrections, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we have the approval. We have donations.
And no donations for this,
Okay,
a little quiet.
okay. Then that takes us into payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve for the month of June, the amount of $988,317.33?
so moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
Second.
Chris, any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the cash summary?
I just wanted to thank Patty. She's not here today. She has her grandson is having a birthday party at the baseball diamond. So, but just a little nice little increase in our budget. If you look at transportation aid on the financial summary here, remember we took some of our extra resources and paid off a couple buses. By doing that, our transportation aid went up, and it was actually $200,000 than we had budgeted. So we'll be using that in some other areas that will help us with some storm sewers and stuff for next year. So we ended off the year even stronger than we thought we were going to, which is always a nice surprise. So thank you, Patty. Even when she's not here, she's helping us.
And public comments, I don't have anything. Gary, we'll let you speak. Okay. Referendum discussion.
Okay, so everybody has the enclosure here. Next month, I'm trying to, 2 weeks ago, they have the kind of the digital walkthrough, and it's, Ray, it is good for a reason. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the design, doing the walkthrough and getting to see some of the design pieces. Chuck Arini, you want to talk about some of your thoughts as you look at this?
It's really cool. I think we were all everybody on the review team, or we all thought it was really nicely done. I don't know what else to say. It's going along quite well.
Some of the stuff was where they're going, how we're able to do this in a fiscally responsible way, but have it look the way it does, has been fantastic. Ray has been great partners. I think we're finding ways to put money where it counts. and things that will make our school, look special and look like a place when kids come in, feel professional. But we're making common sense moves on it, and that's the piece that's really cool. Next month, I've asked Ray that we'll actually have a video of what it's gonna be like to walk in and walk down the hallway. So I'm hoping next month we'll have a quick little 30-second, 45-second video that then we can share on the website. So, you get to see 3 still pictures this month. Next month, I'm hoping for something a little bit more.
It's really exciting, and what I really like about it is, you know, it touches the whole school, and it doesn't look piecemeal. There's continuity with all the colors, and I thought they did it fabulous.
Yeah, you're gonna hear about how there's different colors for different areas and how they come together in some areas. People way smarter than me that came up with some of these things, but it really brings it together. So with the common sense approach that we talked about, I asked Mike to come today because this conversation started about a month ago. I shared in front of you, preliminary budget analysis. So, as we've been going through this, we have planned, and what we told the group as we're doing, let's try to do everything we can with the allocation that we have, the 29.9 mil. And as we were going through this process, we got a little over our budget. We were, I don't know, at one time, I think we were $2 million over. So Mike and I took some time in June and we're trying to find where places we can save money, where some money we can do this. Let's make sure we do the things that are common sense. What are some things we can do ourselves? And every time we get to another part, we really talk about what makes the most sense here. And having Mike on our team and just, we know he's a licensed electrician. He's just good in a lot of areas. He asked me, he's like, you know what? He's like, what are we getting for the air handling units? If we replace for $1 million, we're replacing air handling units in the middle school. What are we getting? He's like, right now, air handling units back then were motors and shafts, right? What kind of improvement is $1 million giving us? So we went into a meeting 2 weeks ago and asked that question. And their answer was, well, you're getting individual room exchanges instead of gain room and a couple other things. And from that discussion, we also asked, and Mike, I'm about to kick this over to you. The other thing we're looking at is, as we put a new addition on, the new addition has a rooftop unit, right? So, because we need the new caffeinasium to be air conditioned. And then we need a rooftop unit over the business lab, so that needs air conditioning. And then there needs to be a replacement of the old one that was in some other areas. And I think Mike just asked, what are we doing? Why do we keep doing these little Band-Aid here, Band-Aid here, Band-Aid here? Is there a way we could do differently? And what you have here is a few hours of discussion and then a lot of hours of, could we, instead of doing this patchwork, put a rooftop here, do this, could we actually get an opportunity where we could put air conditioning in half of our campus and keep the air handling units the way they are in the middle school? And by doing that, get half to our goal of being air conditioned or at least temperature controlled, and make the next half a more logical step. So Mike, I wanted to kind of kick it off from there because I know you're usually a man of few words, but what did I miss in that?
Nothing. I mean, I think you explained it great. Like you had said, I just question why we're replacing, $1 million or $1.5 million worth of air handlers down in the middle school area. That yes, the equipment is old, but it's good and it's inexpensive to fix when it goes out. And, just prior to the meeting, talking to a couple of members, I said, we're going to spend $1 million, $1.5 million to fix something that isn't broken. And when we walk away and we say we're done with the referendum, we're not going to have anything other than we had prior to that. I mean, so, and Mike is right, you're gonna add this spot here and that spot there, and you're talking about, oh, we're gonna have to add this roof handler here and, you know, pipe all, you know, do some piping from here to there and basically, you know, rigging stuff to work. You know, when maybe we can move these funds to maybe finally get something that is done for once. You know, instead of spending money down there and like I said, not having air conditioning and doing it basically, you know, not properly the way we should do it to make it work. And then when we're done with the referendum, we're gonna have a bunch of patchwork. And then it's gonna be, when's the next referendum? And, you know, like I had said previously, you know, this is my second referendum, and we've been talking about AC since 2014. And quite honestly, since 2014, we really don't have any more AC than we had in 2014. The only extra AC we have is gym stuff, and that's because it broke. We had to get new stuff in the middle of the year. That's the only reason we have AC there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any more AC today than we did in 2014.
Mike, is it fair to say that if we do that second option and we add air conditioning to the high school, we're completing what was started with the
In a way.
last referendum, in a way? Because they put capability for cooling, but they didn't actually put cooling in.
Right.
In the
They,
last referendum.
all the unit beds that are on this end were put in that have that is, all you have to do is hook up to have AC. Right at that time, we didn't have it. And, you know, I don't wanna, you know, I want you to understand too that by, you know, going the original route, that would be the same thing that they're going to do down here too. You know, they would put new air handlers in and they would be AC capable once you got AC. But, you know, I still am for staying the way we are, moving our money into this area because, you know, like I said, once this referendum is over, when's the next one? You know, then you got, what, 10, 15-year-old equipment that was AC ready 15 years ago.
So we put in AC ready equipment and we never,
Never used it.
we never
Yeah.
finished it all.
We have AC ready equipment right here that is, you know, 5, 8 years old. So,
I feel like my understanding, my recollection from back then was it doesn't cost really more to have it AC ready.
Correct,
We had to replace whatever the problem was.
correct.
So we bought stuff that was AC ready instead of buying stuff that wasn't, because it was basically the same price.
I think.
So
if
it,
you
it
were to buy-
wasn't that we want to do this, but we don't have money now. It was,
It's kind of.
if we want to do it, it makes sense to have it if it's gonna cost us the same thing.
It would probably cost you more to not buy something AC ready.
So that's,
So it was a good prep back then. because-
should,
But it was the right common sense decision back then, and now we're just able to fulfill the
yeah,
capability
if
of what
that's
was.
where we want to spend money.
If we wanna go there.
And just for clarity, we're not looking for approval, so this isn't an action. We're looking kind of like a blessing, like, yes, this makes sense to continue moving down this road. But I think after a discussion, Rini, Chuck, and us felt like this was a bigger discussion than just the two of them, and that's why we're bringing it here. And you know, the last part that's up here is, I brought back the question, because we did ask this question to the staff, of our community, way back when we did that, and we asked them, you know, would you support air conditioning if it cost you $25 for every $100,000 worth of property? So if, say you have a $300,000 home, it was gonna cost you $75 more a year. We had, you know, was it 55% said yes. Another 12% said, you know what, I'm undecided, and really 32% said no. So the difference between this conversation is we're not asking for another $75. We get to do this with what we proposed in that first question. So, but I wanted to make sure we pulled this out to show there was support to do this. We just found a different way to do it that didn't cost somebody $25 per 100,000 to do. If
And we're
that's
saving,
what we choose.
And we could save $50,000.
And we're saving money by doing it this way.
So doing the new way that, middle school and elementary school is still air conditioned, but just disabled. Or they just,
It's air conditioned to what it is. You know, there isn't going to be any more air conditioning that is, the air conditioning that is already there, right?
but is that more substantial than in the high school, or is it? Incremental for them?
Well, I don't understand.
Like, is this changing it so the elementary and middle school are not as air conditioned as it would have been in the old way, like in the original?
No.
But the high school is.
All
like,
this-
flipping
all
which
this-
students are benefiting.
All the new stuff going in, if you go back to what the proposal was, to change the air handlers and the rooftops in middle school, elementary. All they were doing is taking a 1960 piece of equipment, putting a 2023 piece of equipment in there that is just like this stuff up here, that is AC ready. The pipes are gonna be sticking out the side of it, but they're gonna be capped off, just like these guys are up here. So you're not getting any more AC on this than you had before.
They're also not
You're
getting any less.
losing any
Yeah.
either.
Does it help, like, just in case there'd be another pandemic too, the air quality and things like that, separating these units?
At the middle school?
Yeah.
We aren't running, I guess I'm not even gonna, I don't know.
I wouldn't know how to answer that. I
No.
wouldn't either. I mean, the only thing that I could say is, I'm not sure, you know, like I said, you're going to, what we have right now, you're not going to get anything different than the status course of what it says. You're not going to get anything different. I mean, it's a place to maybe put a filter in there or something, maybe,
Yeah.
you know, but
The thing that connected it, when Mike asked, he's like, you know what? I know this is 60 stuff, but if something goes down, I can replace a motor and it's back up on. You know, it's almost like the difference between working on a 1960s car compared to a car right now. And is there still gonna be air exchange? Are we still gonna meet code? Are we gonna still do those other things? Yes. But, you know, the thing I did wanna say that you kind of spurred a thought on, and I had a question, what about summer school? Well, if this part of the building is air conditioned now, we can look at what does that mean for summer school? Maybe summer school needs to come up where it's air conditioned, not down in the hot rooms there. So there are some other conveniences that would come from this. And to me, it seems like we're getting a bigger bang for our buck for less. It is really, and I would never even have thought of it if it wasn't for Mike and some of the pre-work to get here. So, but when it comes down to, Mike and I aren't elected, you guys are, so you get to say, hey, continue going down this road, or, nah, you know, stay here with the original budget. The other thing I wanna say about the original budget, when the group came through, this is our first discussion on HVAC through this process, and everything is boom, boom, boom. Our architects come through and they just do their best guess. So this was really our first time to really put some horsepower behind it. And I'm proud of the work of the team to get to this. I know the people from Frederickson, you know, they kept saying, you know what, this part of the district is screaming for air conditioning. And they came back really quick to even, for less money, they're saving money and saying this was a really common sense way. So they got excited about how the group really had this conversation.
Well, in our survey question, adding this would help prevent mold, improve air quality, and create better learning environments. So I think those are benefits.
you know, Mike and I had a conversation today too, a little bit about some other things. You know, we do plan on moving forward with carpet. You know, I know carpet has come a long ways, but we can say that we're going to fix the drainage issues and stuff like that. But I think we all know where this place is. Okay, so do I think that we are going to ever fully, you know, get rid of our moisture problems? No, I don't think we're going. And know, like I had said, I know that carpet has come a long ways from when I walked on the carpet. But we think that that would help tremendously with the mold, building that. So now, I think it's. And I'm one of those guys that I hate spending. I hate spending and wasting money. To me, by putting a rooftop unit here and making this work over here, put a rooftop unit over there, it's all wasted money. And we need to just finally maybe put something together that is done.
I think the community, you know, people that I hear from would prefer them not piecemeal things, like do something and do it right, you know?
And to touch on what Gina had brought up too, back in 15, we had to put new, air handlers, or univents. We had to put new univents in there because we were going around changing them. And that was something that, there isn't univents on that. It's just in the 59 edition that there's univents, and then they've all been changed. Once you get down here, like I said, if you guys choose to go this way, you get the air conditioning to the high school, and then say 10, 15 years or whatever it is down the road, that you say, okay, we want to air condition this now. All this, you go back into that, I call it the mezzanine, it's a mechanical room above the gym. You go into there, and where they were going to replace these units, you replace the vent. So, I mean, and you put another chiller in that area, which they would have to do anyway. So, I don't think I think we're saving them, is what I think we're doing. And we're gonna have 10, 15 years of at least having the building being versus.
And that's a point we should, other board members should know is, maybe you don't know, but it looks like we're gonna have carpeting throughout almost the entire school. And, Mike alluded to, it's come a long way, and, we're very, I think, happy about some of the things that have been chosen. And I hope the community as a whole is gonna like it, I think the students will, and I think it's the way to go nowadays. We looked at a lot of different options, but it looks like carpeting is gonna be the choice, and I think it's a great point that when you can control your air temperature to the extent that you can, it'll be beneficial, especially on those moisture days, where you can take the moisture out of the air with a AC unit. So, and I guess I would ask too, Rainey are gonna, and Mike will have this big decision where we want the support or the input from you guys to, if that's the way you think we should go.
Well, I still have questions on this. What we're talking about originally, not carpet. Is I'm wondering if we don't need to spend the 1.5, which thank you very much for pointing that out, that, yeah, thank you. Then we were already happy with not having air conditioning. Can we spend the 1.5 or the 1.4 on something else instead, like the whole back road and whatever else, like the other things that we had to cut that more people would be affected by, that might be safer, whatever category you want to put it in. I mean, we had a lot of things that we cut out of what we wanted to do. And if we can get by with what we currently have in HVAC, why wouldn't we use that money on some of those other things?
So the plan that we have, and then as we bring it forward, is the road is gonna be part of the plan right now. And actually, I think one of the things that we're going to be doing that's a bonus on top of all the things that we had hoped for we're gonna be able to find. I think the one thing that is still out there that looks like it's gonna be able to be afforded is, the classroom length in the high school. The road is on, and now recently, we're gonna be doing the storm sewer over in the back that, we're gonna be paying for. So right now, all the things that we thought would cost us 34 million, we're finding ways to do it for 29 million. And, it's a combination of two things. We went to a referendum at the opportune time, and, we're not spending a lot of money right now, and the Fed keeps doing us a favor by jacking interest rates. So, those type of things are going on when we get to the point, of going out, because you have to remember, it goes to live bid. And when we have these planned and all these other things, it's gonna go out to our, out to the different contractors, but we're feeling like we can do this for the 29. So, we could find somewhere else to go with that, but I'm not sure we would have to do that.
Alright. Then talking about carpeting and mold and whatever, is there gonna be carpeting in the elementary, middle school, or is that all being up here? Because if they don't have air conditioning, they're gonna have a problem with carpeting and mold, and because it's not temperature controlled.
They would have more of one, yes, if they're coming.
I mean, because that's where we always have the problem with water coming up through the
If it
door,
comes
if it's not the
to
high
that.
school.
With the antibacterial carpeting that's out there, I don't have those same concerns with that. I mean, we're talking about polyester and rubber and on all those other things. I don't see that as, the air conditioning to me, the mold thing isn't, something I feel as strongly about. I think it's something Mike felt strongly about with
And
that.
I'm throwing the butt in, but, you know, I just have to think about the past.
Right.
You know, and, of what we used to have, and like I said, you know, I listened to the stories that Bob tells me about the carpet that was here when I was like a senior, I think it was, so that would have been 92-ish, you know, and the stuff that happened there. You know, like he had said, or we had said, we have come a long ways on cleaning that kind of stuff up. And I do believe that the carpet isn't like this stuff anymore, it's not like the stuff we're throwing in our house. It is made out of rubber, it is made out, you know, it has these things, so I guess it's just kind of probably me being a little old school and, you know, do I wish I could have 100% of the building at AC or under AC control? Absolutely. I just, you know, if we can find the money to do that too right away, let's do it. I just.
Well, you found this money, so find it for us, will you?
Gina, I think the areas in the other part of the school that are extremely high moisture, they've chosen floor coverings that would handle that. Is that right? Didn't that come into our plan?
There is some, yeah, so there is some that, not everything is flooring, some of it we're doing epoxy, for that, so,
Because of the moisture.
yeah, yeah. And, you know, we have a problem back there, and we're actually, you know, we're hoping to fix some of that, and I agree with Mike. Still, we're in a low area, right, it's gonna be wet here, but I'm really hoping we can actually break ground on that this fall and start doing some things with the storm sewer to finish up some of that work that, was started in the last referendum that I think is going to get more water out of here too. So, I feel like we're, you know, I think we've said, there's a lot of things going to unsexy things. When you see our parking lot and storm sewers and you start looking at the millions that are going into plumbing and electrical and things like that, there's a lot of those things. I feel comfortable that they're being fixed through this, and, I feel like the things we wanted to accomplish in this can get accomplished, and as, you know, and we haven't gone out to bid yet. We have chunks of money that are there just for contingencies on bidding and things like that. So we're being very smart, and we're fortunate to be with a team that know what they're doing with this and know what we want to do collectively. And I think between Renee and Chuck, Mike, myself, Susan, Sandy, you know, everyone else through this, we've been pretty clear on what we wanted to accomplish.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna get all the stuff we thought we wanted, why not? If it comes up that we can't, I think we need to evaluate that.
And that's called value engineering. What happens is if we go out to bid and it's more than we thought, then these are other conversations we'll have to talk about that. So,
Because I would say that there may be something we would want more than.
yes, I would agree.
And that would be
Yep.
my only, otherwise, sounds good. Perfect, sounds great. Feel like I'm at Syndics.
And, you know, when we get to this, we're going to have, you know, it's so like, okay, this part, this part, this part. When you start seeing the budget and all the things that we're doing, none of that is really concrete on how much it's gonna cost until we figure out who our contractor is and how much they say it's gonna cost. So, we will still have more very difficult conversations to come. This is just, a quick little pre-show of it.
Anybody else have any other thoughts, or is this still?
I did
Option two
wonder,
looks
I did
good.
wonder, like, sort of the same thing as you, like, if the community sees we're putting an AC and that was something they said. But if it's within the, need, you know, we're staying within our needs, then I would,
That was one,
while we have everything.
one of the first questions we had when you brought this up was just that, what was the referendum questionnaire and how were people responding to that? Because I didn't remember, and then that's when Mike brought this up, and so, like, the support was there, but we just chose not to go further on it.
That surprises me a little bit, because I would have said the support wasn't there for any of the things except the tickets. But it must have been like we were counting all of the undecided things that's no, right? When we were doing that, when we were all of the things that were over. There's more support than I remember.
Right. If there wasn't support, I don't even think we'd really have this conversation.
Right? Yeah, if this was a resounding no back then, I
Yeah,
think
that
then it
would've
would be different,
a
right?
new issue, but because we saw this, we're like, we're exploring further.
Well, and it's still not, well, we said in the question, the remainder of the building, and we're still not accomplishing that goal. But we're closer to it.
Okay.
Okay, so this doesn't mean we get air conditioning, this means we're going to plan and budget going forward with this. And, next month, Nate is gonna be coming with kind of an update of where all this is, so you'll get even more in depth, we'll spend even more time on it. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
It'll be really interesting to see what the bids come in at. I think that, you know,
There's a lot, there's not a section that's not getting touched, you know, and this is a big project for one campus to get all this, so. We'll see, you know, like I said, we're not done with tough conversations yet.
Alrighty, thank you. Building reports.
I'm gonna start it off today. I'm gonna start with strong classrooms. Our second session of summer school is gonna be completed on July 20th. There's about 250 students in summer school. Doing well. I see a lot of happy faces walking the halls. And it's exciting to see. I'll be taking over for Julie Miller, in the district for the Jumpstart program. As you can see, it's August 7th through the 10th. Just looking forward again to meeting all of our new friends and getting to know everyone. You'll see summer work. So we've had different groups of teachers at all the levels coming in over the summer. They've been working with the instructional coaches, digging even deeper into their curriculum and standards, aligning curriculum and finding resources, as well as now outlining rubrics to go with the evidence-based grading. So a lot of heavy lifting has been done over the summer by various groups of teachers. And then furniture training. So I think we referenced it maybe a couple months ago. Sandy and I had written for a fair grant for 250,
Matching 250, yeah.
matching 250, and we were awarded that grant. And so we've been in talks with
Woodgenics, this summer, and I believe it's gonna be Woodgenics that's going to be our partner, with outfitting furniture for our elementary and middle school classes.
So it's
we're
been-
excited.
That's very exciting. Our money is staying local. We're working with Woodgenics, Paul Golden, if you know him. We're finding some ways, really helped us design what we wanted, and, they're fantastic to work with, so how cool. We may have some of our kids making their own furniture, in the coming year.
So moving on to strong culture, in my 180-day plan, I had an opportunity to spend some time with teachers. So they have been coming in, sometimes virtual, sometimes in person, phone calls, just getting to know them better and talking about some things they're proud of from being here. And along with that, the building leadership team, Susan and I have been meeting with, just again to look at our scope and work for the year and where we're headed, and just supporting those building leaders throughout the district.
And we got some nice work now, where we're bringing the 3 levels together. So elementary, middle, and high school, the leadership teams are gonna be working on a growth study together that we're focusing on one instructional strategy that the teachers said, this is something we need to do. It was coming from the teachers after going through the growth study. So we're very excited that it's going to be something that we're, all 3 levels will be working on towards our goal for the school. So really happy about that. Administrative team and instructional coaches. So we met as a large team, the instructional coaches and the administrative team, and really outlined a framework for the work that we want to do this coming school year. And then outlined what we want to do for professional development during our pre-service. So really have a nice, strong plan that continues the emphasis of the strong classroom work with the evidence-based grading, as well as the strong culture, and then community connections. Now that's a tenet that we're going to be focusing even more on, so finding different ways there. With that tenet, high school is already working on its community service day for September, and middle is working on a community service class now that we're going to be incorporating as a part of that plan, and elementary 2 is going to be brought in with those community service elements. So really excited about where we're going this year.
And finally, our strong community, as you probably have seen on the posters around, LPI is here living and getting ready to do the performance. So that's coming up August 3rd and 6th.
Bye, Birdie. Yeah.
All right, any questions? Thank you. Board committee reports. We had administrative and support staff committee met.
Matt's not here. So we met and, we have some things that we need to do later for approval and, talk a little bit about, compensation for administrators.
I think that was our.
That was it.
Out of order from what we did.
We are, yeah,
It's not confusing.
okay, look at that. Just trying to spend.
But we did meet on that.
We did meet on that, yeah, yeah.
So we got both those taken care of?
Yeah, we'll be talking about later.
Look at that.
There you
Great
go.
job, Mike. That's why we got you on the
Yeah,
job.
exactly.
Administrative contracts. Is there a motion to approve? Katie, is there a second?
I'll second.
Rini? Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for staying with us,
Hey,
guys.
thank you. We're loving it. And we love our new team too, so we just keep going. It's fantastic.
Support staff handbook. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Chuck, is there a second? Amy? Any questions or discussion?
I guess it's like there's the sort of weird wording in there on the moving violation stuff that I think we should revisit next year. I don't think we need to do anything with it, but I think I'm gonna forget, so I just wanna put it out there separate for all. Because I think it's awkward wording.
Okay.
And we'll do that, we'll have to do it in the policy first to get to the handbook. It's about moving violation and do something.
Kim will make a note. And, all right. Okay, any other questions or discussion on staff handbook? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Teacher handbook, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Chuck, is there a second?
I'll second.
Chris? Amy.
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 Sorry, I'm always facing this way.
Amy. Any questions on the teacher handbook? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we have a second reading on here for policies 8600, 8800, and 8802. Is there a motion to approve?
Is there, and just the Robert's rules kind of thing, if we would like to discuss them separately, should we do that before there's a motion to approve? Like, I don't have a question or.
Well, why don't you just go ahead and ask your question, because if we can.
Yeah,
Avoid doing.
yeah,
Right.
don't bring
Before we
Robert
go
into
down.
this at all,
We'll let
Robert's gone.
yeah.
Robert left the city.
If it gets to be too lengthy, then we'll have to go into, we'll have to get a motion.
Okay.
If we get.
Well, so I just, so the two, there was like the transportation one, and then there was the 8800 that I had a question about, and then there was,
All right,
oh, there was the, so that separated like the religious one and the patriotic one. And so transportation, I'm fine, the patriotic one, fine. My questions come to the religious part.
okay.
You scroll down to, yeah, like, so that this, not the first green paragraph, but yeah, so this one is the one where I've got the concern, and then my suggestion to fix it is a little lower, but so where it says staff are expected to avoid circumstances where the staff member's expression of religious views could be reasonably construed as an endorsement or approval of a message by the school. I know I brought this up last time, we talked really briefly about it, but then there were other, we ended up tabling the whole thing, right, but and I think it's fine for us to say, like, that doesn't mean that we would have gone after that high school coach, that was the whole reason for the Supreme Court decision first. But I don't think that that's what that says. I think what that says is that if a citizen wanted to complain that one of our coaches was allowing students to come out and pray with him, that we would have a problem with it. And so I'm uncomfortable with that wording, but I think one of the ways that we could fix it is, we could scroll down a little bit further to the student part. So where it says, that's good. So where it says students are not prohibited by this policy, or any guideline that comes from this policy from engaging in free individual and voluntary exercise or expression. I think if we said students and staff, or staff and students, anytime it says students there, that I think then says, we are not trying to infringe on their right. So I think we could leave that other paragraph and just add staff and students to this part, and I think that would fix my concern. Does that make sense? I don't know. Yeah. So I have staff at the beginning, so my version of that paragraph says, staff and students are not prohibited by this policy or any guideline promulgated pursuant to this policy from engaging in the free individual and voluntary exercise or expression of the staff members and or students' religious beliefs. However, such exercise or expression may be limited to lunch periods or other non-instructional time periods when staff and or students are free to associate or on an individual basis in a manner that does not disrupt the education.
Now, I'm not a policy expert, but I know when it gets to this, there's different rules for students and staff. And I feel like in this one, there's a staff section and there's a student section. And I feel like that's the reason. And if we want to make a change, and I would say we should probably just, and we need to have it go back to Neola and check and see once how this will disrupt the flow of policy and all those other things. So,
It seems like the first paragraph is saying that the staff cannot, like, force their opinion on the students. as opposed to the second paragraph is more, you have a right to do what you want, you know, your beliefs are. It doesn't talk about the, you know, promoting that onto the students or whatever. So maybe it's where the two difference.
Well, yeah, I mean, that, they are different because of the roles of those two groups, right? I just think the first paragraph that deals with staff makes it sound like you're not allowed to have anything to do with prayer. You know, or out of school, that the school might be, like, so after a football game, right, still seems like a district/school event. Right? But if a coach isn't forcing his students to come out there, but has a prayer session after and a bunch of students come out there, that's constitutional and should be consistent with the policy. But I don't think it is. Like, I think that that paragraph does say that that could be a problem if anybody saw that as endorsement by the district.
And these are your policies, and do as you choose. I can tell you that I think this is trying to thread the needle between free speech and what a district can ask a staff member and what they can ask a student to do. So, I'm sure you could give this to 3 lawyers and they would all agree to disagree on what is said here. And that's why we pay them so much money to give us more confusion. So I think I'm fine however we want to do it, however we want to do these things. But I wouldn't want to touch anything with this without the okay from Neola because of this and how this is. We know we're under a microscope in a lot of different areas. This is another place where even this conversation can open us up to, oh, I see it this way and some of those other things, So I think,
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say our choices are to either second reading approve it or just say no, and then we go back to the drawing boards and kind of go through the process again. I think we are.
Are we bound by Neola that we have to do what they tell us?
To get their, because we have their coverage, so being part of Neola, we have their insurance and all those other things. So there's all kinds of protective rights with Neola. There's so many things that they'll feel comfortable, and then they'll be like, well, you can still do it, but if something happens to this, you're not gonna get coverage from us. Right, Kim? I mean, that's part of the Neola, of the Pacifics.
I don't like that we're subject to that. I understand that, I just don't like the fact that Neola can dictate, essentially that's what they're doing, what they want us to have, based on what their mindset is. When we, at an individual school district level, might not agree with it, but we're really compelled to agree with it if we want their protections. That's how I see it, I'm not sure if that's accurate.
But don't we need to go back and talk to them? And, I mean, we've done this with.
I was
other
gonna
things
say,
before.
they usually work with us with what we're trying to
Yeah.
say.
If we want
They
it
do.
worded a certain way.
Yeah, if we don't like the way that they're saying it, they work with us, to come up with something that we can all agree on. I guess I don't really see a huge problem here. Because if you think about, you wouldn't want somebody teaching what you don't want them to teach. Or impose their views on as a teacher.
Right, but I don't want to stop them from being able to say a prayer on Thanksgiving after their football.
Right, and I don't think that does say that in that what the whole Supreme Court thing was about.
That is what it was about, but that's what, I mean, I think that's what
So
Mike's saying, right?
it
Is that some
doesn't-
of us are reading that differently than
Right.
others, and I'm reading
But
it.
I'm reading it as maybe a religion that I would not want a prayer.
Well, I mean, I think that's also protected,
That-
right? Like, so.
Right, so that would be protected, but it's not, that might be more of a forced. I don't see that they're being forced or not forced, it's just saying that you can't, put this onto other people as a teacher. You can't say, you have to come and pray or you're not playing.
Well, yeah, you absolutely shouldn't be able to say that, right? But I think that it's a.
Go.
I was supposed to take cancel.
I thought it was okay until you hit it too. The discussion doesn't need the board right now anyway. Keep going.
Did I just mess up?
No,
You're fired.
yeah. You know what? You got up there. So we will keep you. Next time, say cancel. That's. I need to get up. My watch was telling me to stand up.
I don't know, does anybody have any, like,
I think the word expected to avoid, or those words might be what is making it sound like you can't do it. Expected to avoid certain things.
Yeah, because almost every choir concert I go to, which I love, is, you know, there are often at Christmas time, Christian songs that are sung. So, like, I feel like they would be expected to avoid these things.
The way that's written,
Yeah.
that's what it makes it sound like. So,
Well, the next paragraph says nothing in this policy prohibits teaching about various religious and religious practices in a manner consistent with an adopted district course curriculum. The instruction may include discussions of religious holidays and customs in a manner related to curriculum. Does not give the appearance of endorsement of one religion over the other. Observance of religious holidays through the acts of worship is also prohibited. I know this doesn't get into Christmas songs because it was part of the thing we talked with Richard. So,
Yeah, but not everybody is necessarily gonna think that way, right? So when somebody who's very committed atheist has their kids in the school and they're singing Christmas songs, they can say, your policy says you can't endorse one religion over another.
we've seen that happen, right, with the article in the paper where people read stuff into, but I think that's gonna happen regardless.
But also allowing the option of that singing those songs with no penalty.
And it does say that in the student. Yeah, I think the students are pretty well covered in this policy. And what they worry about is staff who want to express their own religious views. People who think it seems like the school is endorsing them. I do see what you're saying, but there's other faiths can come in, like some teacher who's Muslim, right, can come in and do their prayers, right, and maybe that makes some people uncomfortable, but like if we're saying it's completely freedom of speech, freedom of religion, like that.
Do you think the second sentence helps support the staff members' free exercise of their religious view? Is that enough to affirm that this policy isn't stopping them from exercising their?
well, the thing is that the freedom of speech, if we're paying somebody, you know, they don't have freedom of speech if we're paying them. So, but this is trying to cross that line, and what happened with the coach is, the coach, you know, this came down when the kneeling thing happened in the NFL and all these other sports. By rights, if you are working for us, you should be doing the things that are part of our policy. So this isn't protecting people, our staff's freedom of speech, but it has to protect the students' freedom of speech. That's why I think it's divided into two sections where we can't tell students what to say, but if a staff member wants to go and say incredible things that puts our district at risk, they don't have freedom of speech. It's in their contract. They won't be working for anymore. So those are the differentiations of this, and that's what this is trying to do. Now, we're not trying to take freedoms away from people when we treat people like professionals, but that is something with this is, a staff member can't come in and just wear any shirt that they want. They have some expectations that they need to have, so.
That would be why I'm okay with that.
Right.
I haven't read the Supreme Court decision.
The biggest, the thing, I'll give you the synopsis. Coach, after a game, went and kneeled at the 50-yard line. District said, you're one of our employees, you can't do this, and fired him. Supreme Court now threading, like I said, this is threading the needle. This is some said, you know what? Yes, he was a coach, but the game was done, so he can do that because it's his time before he goes and reconnects with the player. So the lawyers that are putting this together are trying to more clearly define what's our staff time and what is their time. And if that doesn't make a lot of sense, well, then try to create policy over stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's why, you know,
And students weren't being forced to do that or
No.
penalized for
no,
not doing
but some
that.
were getting, and it was part of a tradition, and
If
the-
they wanted to participate, then
Yep,
that was
yep.
okay. For the students,
to pray with their. And so there's more clarity, but now we're threading the needle with stuff like this.
and that's where that says that somewhere down here that in this policy or in this section, but outside of that, do whatever you want.
Right, it says that about the students, and I guess I'd like to see it say that about the staff.
Well, it does say that about the staff, I thought.
That is, I think that second paragraph is basically saying that you can teach about your curriculum
Right.
and have part of that. But that doesn't talk to them saying prayer.
And I think the stuff in green is restrictions on freedom of speech, but then that last paragraph there, students are not prohibited by this policy. Students aren't, so
Up
as we're,
here though, right here, as the public employees, that section, the last sentence, nothing in this policy or its application shall serve to prohibit or interfere with any staff member's free exercise of their religious views in circumstances not covered by this policy. So they can do what they want when they're not on our time. On our time, we don't want them doing what they want. We want
So
them to
is
do what
our
we're
time
paying them to do.
while they're leaving the Christmas concert? I think that feels to me like it's on our time. Right? So after the game, maybe the Supreme Court here says, like, that's the second, I get that second.
I guess,
Right, they're
what's your
not.
scenario at the Christmas concert that they're not,
But
that this is gonna prohibit them to do?
Well, but, complaints from somebody in the community who is a community, saying that we should be promoting Christianity by having Christmas songs on every concert. Right, the same kind of,
But if we sing about Santa Claus, that wouldn't cover that, because that's not religious. So they sing those too. So we could say that there's a variety there.
right,
We're covering
they
all.
don't say like,
But I'm saying, how is that, just that scenario, how is that not allowing, why is that making the staff a problem? Why is that being a problem for the staff?
because it says that the staff aren't allowed to do things that may express one religion over another. Right, the statement says, staff members' expression of religious views could be reasonably construed as an environment of the school. Right, and then it says nothing in this policy prohibits teaching about it, but then it says later that you can't do anything that might be considered worship or picking one religion over another. And if we're singing songs about Christmas and not about Hanukkah, and not about,
I feel like we do, though, we do all this.
and I know in the lawyerese view, that isn't what this is saying, because that was a piece we asked about religious singers, is, we sing Christmas songs. So if somebody wants to go and lawyer up and say it does and it doesn't, then, I don't know, I'm not, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know what's gonna be better and be more clear either, so.
What's the process when we send it back to Neola for clarification?
we'll meet with them, and then we'll do a first reading and second reading, so I mean, it's,
I mean, I wouldn't wanna give up the school's right to say, this is what you're allowed to do when you are working for us. I do not want to change any of that to say, they can do whatever they want from here. I think as an employer, we need to have that control.
Right, and I'm not arguing that we can say that, I'm arguing that.
But wouldn't that change that? If we start adding staff here,
yeah, if we were to add the word staff, if it says students and staff are not prohibited by this policy, everything above it is then void. So there would have to be adjustment. It couldn't be, we can't just put the word staff, students and staff, because of how this is kind of. I mean, if we wanna go back to Richard and say how can we show us how we can continue to have our Christmas program the way it is.
I speak to the music teacher piece because I have some background in that. When we're teaching songs for those types of performances, we're really focusing on the elements of the song. And although at times some of them are religious and you can interact with the chants and things like that, we don't necessarily focus on, we always try to, as a teacher, you always try to stay clear that, because it was really clear to us as music educators to keep that separate. We can talk about history, we can talk about parts of the song, but it is never the objective to enforce that religion. Just from my experience.
Thank
So
you.
it's not an act of worship.
Right.
It's not like, exactly. Yep.
Act of education.
Perfect.
so, what do you wanna do? You wanna make a motion for, is there a motion to approve these policies?
I understand what Katie's getting at, but I'm just wondering if are we really gaining anything by going back to Neola to get clarification? Are we gonna get what you're trying to achieve, or, I don't know,
So
is it worth the aggravation?
So do we say we approve the motion with the stipulation that Neola can confirm for us that we are not going to do something?
Or do we just go there?
Is this just about Christmas program?
No,
That's-
or the
that's my-
Torch Fair or any of that stuff, I mean, I think limiting sort of the Christian feel of the community, I think is a mistake.
Right.
And I'm obviously like interpreting what I'm reading here different than. But I also like, I mean, I don't think that the board has the phone in lockstep either, right? So like, even if, like, I'm uncomfortable with it, and everybody else is comfortable with it, that's it, right? It has to be.
Right, right.
I like, I guess, I would make a motion that we approve the other two policies separate from this one, and then do this one separate. And that, but I don't.
Right, so
Yeah.
Katie's making a motion to approve policy 8600 and 8802. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Chuck? Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That leaves policy 8800. Is there a motion to approve the Neola changes to 8800? I'll make a motion. Is there a second? I don't think I can second my own motion. I would. Is there a second?
You know, we should probably vote on it either way. If we're gonna vote it down, then vote it down. My suggestion would be go through the process, have a discussion, and then we'll do a roll call vote and see if it passes or not. And, I mean, that happens a lot more in other districts than ours, so maybe it'll be a good practice on how to do something when there's different discussions. And when we're talking about religion, when's a good time to practice this out? So that would be my suggestion, but, this is your meeting.
So what happens if it doesn't get approved? We get to talk about it, get further clarification from Neola.
But we still have to do something with this policy or leave it as is.
So if we second it, then we vote yes, or we can all vote.
We can vote yes or no on it, and then at that point, it stays as it currently is until it is revisited at whatever point.
Then I will second
Is
your
that
motion.
correct, Kim?
I will second your motion.
All right, so we have a first and a second on 8,800 as, with the changes that Neola has proposed.
Other than that,
Matt?
Any further
I
discussion
just,
or
that just
questions?
connected, I'm like,
So if we don't approve it, then it stays as is.
Yep.
But isn't that,
Until we do something about it.
but isn't that policy already included in another policy and the change was to separate them? So how could it stay how it is?
it's getting a little awkward, because it's got religion and patriotism together right now. So I don't know if they're together. And how fast does, get back to us?
The thing-
Even if we don't vote on it, it's gonna stay as is. So,
Let's take a vote.
right. Any other discussions? We're gonna do this by, hand raising. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, it fails. And now we will do whatever's next, whatever Kim tells us to do next. Okay, great.
Motion that they write it clear so that we can understand.
have you met a lawyer?
We've met with them before though, like something like this, and it wasn't that bad, right? We just made changes or asked questions and kind of.
Changing isn't, there's a lot of pre-work that goes into how we wanna do it. This one is new because this was something they're trying to get out to schools because it's a recent Supreme Court. Yeah, so as you see, that's why they keep tweaking the language and doing it. So,
All right, next on the list is renewal of the existing line of credit, and, this is something that we do on the regular. Is there a motion to continue this for our, temporary borrowing?
I make a motion.
Rini, is there a second? Chris, any questions or discussion?
the nice thing is we haven't needed to use it, but we still like to have it, so.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We need to, designate our official depository. Is this just one? Or is it two?
To Summit, formerly Commerce State Bank.
Okay, and Collins, okay. Is there a motion to approve those as our, official depository?
So move.
Chuck, is there a second? Katie, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do have a staff, resignation. Is there a motion to approve, with thanks for his 2 years of service, Dave Viper's, resignation?
Is this like his resignation or resignation to a portion of his job?
So, yeah,
This
so
is just the community director.
you'll still be a football coach.
Yeah, I think he's on, I saw his name somewhere.
Will he still be a teacher? Doesn't he teach?
No, not, as of right now, we're trying to get something covered, so it may happen, but this would be the community rec part of it would be done.
Yeah, what does he teach? So was he teaching a couple classes?
Yeah.
or-
So he wouldn't do that anymore?
We don't have that right now, we were trying to figure out how to cover those things, so,
So it would just be a football coach,
yep, just
Just
football.
subject to that salary.
Yep,
I'll make a motion.
Chris, is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, any questions or discussion?
Will we still be doing the training in the fitness center with the team?
As a football coach, yes, but, not as the work in the weight room and staffing will look differently coming forward, and we'll have some things next month to kind of explain what's going on.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New staff, middle school teacher, Catherine Hughes. Is there a motion to approve? Katie, is there a second? Chris, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have new salaried staff, Janet Anderson, Weimer. Anyone know? For Student Services Athletics Administrative Assistant.
I think it's one.
Nothing on 18. Placeholder there.
Nope.
And then notification of co-curricular coaches and advisors for 23-24. Any questions or discussion on those? I think number 20 is the one we need to really talk about. Notification of the high school football assistant coach.
We'll find out that before it's down.
Yeah.
Where he is right
And academic standards for 2023-24. This is something that we just have to have on the agenda once a year to let everybody know what we're teaching. Any questions on that? And we need to establish the times of the annual meeting and the budget hearing. We have established that Monday, October 23rd, 2023 is the board meeting or the annual meeting. Generally, we do the budget hearing at 6:15 and the meeting starts at 6:30. Is there a motion to put those times in there?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
I'll second.
Rini, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And informational.
Okay, I just, since our last meeting, the state budget, especially around schools, has passed. And as you know, one of the things we've been talking about for many years here is, as a district, we are one of the lowest per pupil allocation, districts, along with, some of our friends in this area. And the state budget helped us, with that area. So although not all districts had a positive outcome from the state budget, our continual frugalness with how we are was rewarded, and going into next year was one of the reasons we were able to do 4.5% rebate for teachers than 4%, and will keep us going there. So that worked out favorably for Random Lake, which it's nice to have some things go our way. And this year, a couple things went our way, so it was great. Talking about things going our way, part of the state budget, they're making a big deal out of, some money that they're putting in for reading mandates, and talking about schools need to know the importance of phonics, and when politicians start telling schools, what to do, usually they're not right, but in this one they are, but we were ahead of them, and we've been doing this already for, a few years. So we're hoping this means a little extra money for us for things we've already been doing. We're just, again, happy to say, yep, that makes sense, but we've made sense a few years ago, that's why we've been doing it this time. So another kind of kudo to elementary and all the things that they're doing in that area. Excited, I don't know how many buses in the state have Wi-Fi, but starting next year, every one of our buses will have Wi-Fi in the buses, so now we can do our homework on the bus,
All right.
or other things. So, so it'll be interesting,
I'm
but,
figuring they'll mostly do homework.
I think it's gonna be homework. That's exactly how I look at that. So, or Roblox, which seems to be a big thing lately. I don't know if you have teenagers or preteens, Oh, it's crazy. So, with that, I did put in here, we did, get, the Safe Routes to School, which working with our village and working with the Sheboygan Economic Development Corporation. We're tying that grant into another thing that the village is doing as they're looking for it. So this is the symbiotic relationship that you should have where one grant complements another thing that the village is doing. We have the notification letter that we have in the packet, more to come from there. And the last that we have on here is, Gary had a very nice editorial about a concern of a parent of ours around some curriculum that we're using. And we thought this was a really good opportunity to just share what our kiddos were doing and how we were trying to share the words of how to share, be respectful, be kind, be empathetic, and be a hero.
So this is what they saw.
This is what they saw, yeah. So one of the things we really wanted to do when this concern came out is none of our parents, even the person that wrote the editorial, had seen this. So we gathered everything, we put it out there yesterday in Facebook, and a little explanation that really these are words and things we want all of our kids to do, and talk about being kind and like others and all that other good stuff. And there's a really nice conversation I found on Facebook. I've gotten some private messages from some parents that they appreciated knowing what was actually out there, because sometimes not knowing is even scarier than knowing what was out there. And I feel good about where we're at with this. The one thing that I think as a district, we're in a time where people are highly sensitive to this right now. The only thing I ask in situations like this is if there's a concern, there's many people along the chain that can go and talk about this. The individual that, in the editorial that suggested they should reach out to me, never himself reached out to me. So, I am always, I have a open door policy. I was working with a couple parents this morning. If we have a concern, please have them come see me. I enjoy these conversations, and, you know what? I'm smarter this morning because I got to work with a couple of our parents that had a question, and we came to a really nice result with them. And it didn't have anything to do with this, it was something different. So, door's always open, please. This is something that, the kids like. I actually observed this. This is something that, it's a curriculum that is trying to get pushed through the Department of Education, trying to show that it does well for everybody. And they were gonna be coming later on in July. I put it on hold until this discussion, and I guess, again, not an approval, yes or no. But just, yes, or give me a consensus if you're okay with them coming back for another session, or if we prefer to just say, no, we're good, and, go from there. I forget which country they were gonna work with next. I think it was Europe. So,
So only one that we're, all Facebook is positive.
some good questions that I think were answered, but yeah, I thought Facebook was overly positive.
So I think that things like this, right, so things that are DEI or ICL or CRT, all that stuff is triggering. Right? So I think it's good that he wrote the letter, right? I think it's good that parents are paying attention to what's going on.
Mhm.
I think that, it sounds to me like some of the information from the letter is coming not from this lesson, right, but from,
Nice website, yeah.
from, their website, and I think, we've all heard about some of the stuff that's happened with sort of gender identity stuff in the schools, or, I don't know if it would be considered CRT, but things like Christian or straight or white kids being told that they owe apologies and stuff like that. Like, I think there are things that are dangerous in school districts. So, I think it's good that he's paying attention. I think it's good that we're having a conversation, right? I think constant vigilance is probably going to be. I think that's too bad, but, and I guess I don't know anything about this group. And I thought this was fun, right? I don't think he did anything to get the kids to think about it. it does make me a little uncomfortable, some of these types of organizations that are really focused on DEI, I think end up with a political agenda that isn't necessarily in keeping with what I'd like to see.
How do we say yes to this, prevent,
And I think we have to be careful. I mean, you're in education. I can give you a wall of three-letter acronyms. Hell, I even call them TLAs, just because it's funny to call a three-letter acronym a TLA, right? So, you know, CRT is a three-letter acronym. DEI, PLC, ACP, PBIS. That's how we talk. And if you're not in the lingo, I can see how DEI, CRT, you said for another one, SEL. You know, it's a different vernacular that schools use. When you hear SEL, it's really about helping kids their social and emotional learning. Are there some organizations out there that put a political slant on it to try to push their narrative? Yes. But are there really, really good organizations out there that understand that and try to keep it at a very even keel? I would say the same thing for DEI. Now, CRT is a political narrative being pushed. That's a three-letter acronym that is pushing a very particular way. And I think we have to be careful of throwing these around in together, because there was legislation not too long ago that wanted to get rid of things that are really good for kids. And to me, DEI, if done right, is just the golden rule. It's treating others the way you want to be treated. You don't get a book published when you say the golden rule anymore. You have to come up with things and talk about MLSS and RTI and things that are the same. It's part of the education piece, and I guess I invite anyone to always ask, what is this about? And you are the front line to ask those things. But in some ways, when it was asked, and I went back and I checked out what the article had said about their concerns, and it was really, it wasn't about a political slant. It was trying to show the need to be kind for part of their growth process. So it wasn't about a political slant. It was about showing the need to help kids see that it's okay to be kind and be empathetic. So we're gonna have to have these discussions, and you know, and Rebecca, Susan, and I are on the front line, and sometimes things slip by. And you know, I said this earlier. There's a lot of good people just trying to do good things for kids that are viewed negatively because we have that slant. I listen to Sean Hannity. I hear the things that is said about public education, and there's a lot of people in our community that think that those things are happening here. I'd be lying if I said that there aren't public schools in this nation that are pushing a narrative, but that's not here. We're trying to do things. We know who our community is, and it's always okay to see if we made a misstep or we didn't see something. But if everything that's good for kids is looked at suspiciously, it's going to make it really, really hard to educate students. And you know, it's the world we're in with this, and it's tough, but that's why we need to be able to talk and be able, anytime we hear this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing. And if we don't like it, then we stop doing it and we find something else. But the message of telling kids to be kind is a message that we're going to continue to say to our kids, because those are the things that we think are important. Kindness, and I'm trying to go back to mindful and the things that we've been doing from here, just around our PBIS stuff. We've been having these themes for as long as Sandy and Susan and I have been here, and now Rebecca's going to do the same. So
this group, before they came in, there was a permission slip that went
Yep,
out.
yep.
So parents had to approve whether their child could be a part of the assembly or the instruction.
They came in, and the parents were told about this coming in, and we're in the reason this group came in is part of their education Department of Ed is they want to see it being done in front of kids. They want to see kids doing this, putting capes on and being superheroes and talk about being kind. So we informed the parents that this was going to happen, trying to make sure they knew that this was out there. So
Basically just informing them that visitors were coming and they were getting to be a part of this. It sounds like the bit of like a pilot program? for-
Very much a pilot. This is a new, this organization started in the last few months. I met them through my work at the state, and this is gonna be a very expensive curriculum someday when they kind of work it out, and they were looking for places to try it out and see how kids like it when they do it, and I'm like, you know what? This is Rams Care with kids doing it, and the report from up there is, everybody wants them to come back. They had fun and they wanna be a superhero and learn about another piece. So,
So the permission was just kids were involved in this stuff. Right? They're like,
Which, I mean, should have, if whomever had a concern, that should have triggered the concern at that time.
And I'm gonna take a little responsibility here. It was busy. It didn't come out till the night before. It could have come out a week earlier and some of those other things. So it did come out. It could have come out sooner, you know, so just to, you know, be 100% transparent with those things and, yeah, so. But yeah, but they knew about it before.
If we're already communicating with parents, and we know that parents are, because of the current climate and our culture, if we know parents are cautious and we want to make, want to be aware of what their kids are learning in school, is there a way to just have a little more transparency on the front end? Like, would it be long, or it's definitely more work to like show the present, or a link to the presentation to the parents beforehand? Like, we know it's another country coming. I don't know, do you share it beforehand, or are we just adding an extra step that's not necessary?
Where do you stop? You know what I mean? I mean, right now, I can tell you, no time in history have we had curriculum out as much as we do with what we're doing with Schoology, with being able to see report cards. Our parents see most assignments, if not all assignments, they get to see that. And it's because we're not hiding it from anybody. To say we're gonna get this out there every time there's something new is going to be really hard when we have a teacher that, oh, I wanna try something new, I'm gonna try this. The other side of it is, if you have a concern, the first person you talk to is the teacher, right? Like, hey, tell me a little bit more about this, what is going on here? If that doesn't alleviate your anxiety, then you talk to the building principal, like, can you help understand this? And if that doesn't work, then you come to me. And then if you find out that we're doing something that you don't feel very good about, then come to the board. You're the next group into there. So, I said in my post yesterday on Facebook, we try to be as transparent. And when this came up, the first thing we did is threw it out there and showed everybody what it was. And then when they looked at it, they're like, oh, this isn't scary. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being transparent. Let's keep going. And if there's something else in the future, we'll do the same and share everything we can when we can.
I know you've said in the past that, the one thing that you want to do is stay out of the press. So I guess I trust that what you're doing is going to keep us out of the press for bad stuff.
Yeah. That's always my number one goal. Yeah. And I failed. Just.
No, but it's all right, because, having a conversation is worth doing, right? And maybe it's like, if something else would happen, if there'd be one of the books that you hear about or whatever in the library, right? Maybe the parent then, like, paying enough attention to bring it up, right? There's no way, like, we can't monitor the entire curriculum of all of the classes and all the books and all the libraries. Like, the school board doesn't have that kind of detail. So it's like, you hear people complain about school board because some book was in a library. Like, how on earth did they think the school board would know put that? Right? Like,
It's my experience, it's more about your reaction when you find something, right? Like, if you find something, we have 1,000 people doing all kinds of things every day. And people are gonna make mistakes, or people aren't going to read the next layer and stuff, that's gonna happen. It's more about how you respond to those mistakes than trying to be mistake-free, when learning itself is about making mistakes and learning from those mistakes and growing from those mistakes, so.
I thought you responded well to this, and it was nice to be able to share it, and I'm grateful we have a platform to do that.
And thank you to Haley for working on a Sunday and getting that out, and I think she's even in Fargo and she did that, so, it's great to have a good team that when things like this happen, we can still get it out, so, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Is there a motion to adjourn? Rainey, is there a second? Chris, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
What's that?
closed session.
No, we don't. We don't.
Is Lizzie Golden not changing her last name? Yeah, she just not done. Just got married.
She did. I would say, we may not have